Hey there, folks. Welcome to the Dice Odyssey. I'm KasMan. And today, I want to talk to you about my top 5 reasons why I believe that board games are actually beneficial for you. And we're going to start that right now.
The Dice Odyssey.
A better social life. You know, what is the one thing whenever you go anywhere, or most anywhere, what is the one thing you see in most people's hands? This thing, right? And it looks like this. When you're trying to talk to them, you can't even see their face, and you're trying to, connect with them, and they're like, hey, let me text you through my phone, and maybe you'll get the text, and that way I'll communicate with you. Or, hey, I'll just talk to you on Facebook. And that's what you're seeing. And it doesn't matter. It affects, young and old. A lot of people are doing it. And so I think that board games help get this thing put down, unless you're using a game with an app, for example, right? But I think that board games help get that thing out of the way and help you to connect across the table face to face and sit there and actually make eye contact, right? And here's a key thing. We're getting more and more, influxed, I guess, by all these different social media sites, such as anything from Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, LinkedIn, even, you name it, and most people have them, right? And the fact is that you're starting to see society become less and less social, which is one of the reasons I believe that board games are taking off the way they are. Great. It's great that you get a great designer game, one that has amazing mechanics, awesome artwork, classic theme, something that just draws you in like a good movie. And it's not the only reason why board games are becoming huge. I really and truly believe it's because people are learning again to reconnect with each other. I believe board games teach you great social abilities, right? To be able to talk, to interact, to hash things out when you get into an argument over, hey, you shouldn't have moved that piece there. Rule, the rules lawyer comes up and starts getting on to you because you might have said a rule wrong or did a rule wrong. But the thing is, it teaches you how to deal with issues in so many different ways. And granted, you can't get every real life scenario, but the fact is it does teach you how to deal with those issues. So that's number 5. Number 4 is you'll find an enjoyable new hobby, right? Now, granted, it may be a costly one for you, but the fact is, for many, many years, hobby board gaming was considered what you would say a hobby. It was a very niche market. It was, not very many people involved in it, not like it is now. Man, it's been like an atomic cardboard explosion, right? A cardboard atomic bomb has been dropped on the world in recent years. And you're starting to see hobby gaming pop up everywhere. There are just people who would have never had an interest in it before are now taking interest in board gaming with their friends. Granted, you could have found it on college campuses before. People would play games and, like Axis and Allies and party games and, Risk and things like that. But my gosh, it has taken off like never before that I've ever seen. And anyway, you got things like Gen Con, which is, I think it got up to 65,000 people last year alone. You got Essen, which is ridiculous amounts of people that show up there. It is exploding. And now it's granted it's nowhere near as big as video games. Who knows? It may not ever get there. But the fact is, you're starting to see it on regular TV shows now. You're starting to see gaming appear in just in Starbucks and things like that. You got Tabletop, who's been pushing this forward and getting millions of views, millions of hits on their popular show. You got guys like the Dice Tower, which I love those guys. They're awesome, and I love watching them, and you need to go check them out as well. Support those guys. They do a lot of work to push our hobby forward. And It is awesome. It will eat your wallet alive if you're not careful. So you gotta exercise some self-control, And I've got an enjoyable hobby because I've got enjoyable people that I've started to invite. I've created game groups in the last couple of years, several of them actually, and some of them have taken off on their own to where they're hosting it at different houses now that sometimes I'm not even a part of. I have another one that I've started over here. So anyway. That's my number 4. You will find an enjoyable new hobby. A wallet eating hobby, possibly. So be careful. Number 3. Games teach common sense. Yes, you heard that correctly. They actually can teach common sense. Most games and most game designers have to put into place consequences, okay? They have to put into place common sense things that make sense in game, but also sometimes in the real world. For example, I look at there's an old Bible verse. I call it the old unbendable law. I think it's in the book of Galatians. It says that whatever a man sows, he will reap. I mean, that means you sow good seed, you're going to probably get a good crop. You sow bad seed, you're probably going to get a horrible crop. You make good decisions, there's a very good chance you're going to actually get a good outcome, right? If you make some seriously bad decisions or even somewhat bad decisions, there's probably a really good chance that you're not going to be able to make that up and you're going to get a bad outcome. You can't turn the consequences spigot off. It's there. It's going to happen to you no matter what. So the fact is, this can teach you good common sense. Now, key thing, I mean, there's a myriad of titles that have come out, just different games that teach anything from business to economics, trade, foreign affairs, even if you look at some of these political games. There's so many things for example, farming, goodness, Agricola, Caverna, games like that teach you about farming. Now, granted, it ain't like getting up at 4 a.m. on a farm and getting out there and milking the cows and taking care of the pigs and everything else. But the fact is, it can teach you common sense about life. The developers put real world circumstances in a lot of these games. So anyway, that's my number 3. Common sense. Games can teach you that. My number 2. Games can teach you how to plan for the future. It almost goes in line with my number 3 about, consequences, good and bad, the unbendable law and all that. The fact is that games like, for example, Le Havre, they teach you how to plan for the future, how to set up a business, how to add more revenue to your business, how to plan for future things that might happen, good or bad, right? How to make sure that you're not too far into debt. I mean, the fact is, in an economics class, I'd probably fall asleep, but if they showed me in a board game, which I think it'd be viable to use, games that can teach you economics in an economics class, man, I'd be so interested. I'd come every day. I wouldn't sleep in, So the fact is that yes, games can teach you to plan for the future, anything from resource management to common sense economics. There's games like Le Havre, like I said, but also you can find some of that even in games like Catan, for example, where you're trading, you're learning to trade with other players. You're basically engaging in voluntary deals with other players, things that will not only benefit them, but benefit you. So yeah, games teach you how to plan for the future, my number 2. And my number 1, games can teach you more about yourself, right? Your strengths, your weaknesses, the kind of person you are, how you react when somebody across the table says something to frustrate you. Yeah, the table's gonna flip, baby, But the fact is that games can teach you so much about yourself. I've personally seen a 6'4" guy go after somebody who's about 5'8" across the table because that 5'8" person made them mad in game. Competition can really, really it can confront your pride so much that you have to deal with those anger issues of yours, like my buddy did. But the fact is that it can teach you so much about yourself. For example, games like Pandemic, which encourage cooperation. Obviously, it's a cooperative game. I mean, there's gonna be different people at the table with different roles that go, and they have to learn how to go off their strengths and how to go off of each other's strengths, right? There may be somebody who takes charge and takes command, but the fact is he cannot get anything done, or he or she can't get much done unless they all help each other. That's a fact. And so, for example, like games that encourage the competition I was talking about, that helps you learn how to do self-control. You know, sometimes us men can be barking at each other like a bunch of drunken pirates that are too high on testosterone. But the fact remains is that you can also learn self-control in games like that, right? It can also help you break out of your shell more, right? I got friends of mine who are absolutely silent, quiet types. You know, they're shy. They're wonderful people, but that's just who they are. I'm more of an extrovert. I'm more in your face and having fun. And come on, guys, let's get together and do something fun, right? It doesn't matter if it's board games, movies, whatever. I want to do something. And these guys are like, yeah, you know, that's cool. We'll do that. And I'm like, no, let's go. And so it's cool, some of these games that actually get people to break out of their shell, like party games, right? In games like Spyfall and otherwise, I've seen people that are normally quiet. The quiet, silent times really break out of their shell and start becoming the extrovert I always knew that they were, right? Anyway, so yeah, games can teach you so much more about yourself, and I think it's a great benefit too, because it confronts us on our pride. It helps us to see how to cooperate with one another, and again, sometimes it helps make you more socially adept to other people. Helps you to be able to coalesce with other people and have a good time, man, because that's what games are all about, right? So anyway, and an honorable mention, I will say this, technically a number 6, but it's an honorable mention. Games just help you unwind after a hard day, man. I mean, it's like my wife, we talk about it, and during the week she knows I gotta have my game night, at least one a week, sometimes more, but at least one a week to unwind, because I'm at work, I'm doing school, I got kids, I love my babies, I love my wife, I love my family. I have so many responsibilities. I do a lot of speaking engagements all over the place. I'm invited to different places to speak and to teach and things like that. And, it gets busy. And it's just nice to have. I have a lot of hobbies that I love, but this is one good hobby. And just from personal experiences, this is one hobby I have absolutely fallen in love with. And not like my wife, right? My family has to come first, but it's something that I've enjoyed immensely. And it's helped me make some great friends over the years, not even just in this country, but in others, right? So yeah, I think board gaming reaches across all borders, all language barriers even sometimes, depending on the game. And so yeah, board gaming is beneficial not only to your health, but your social life. Just society in general would benefit greatly if everybody got more into board games. Anyway, that's going to be all for me. Thanks so much for watching the Dice Odyssey videos, hearing me ramble on. I'm Kaz, and you have a great day. You have a blessed day, actually, and game away.